Good morning, Malcolm Nance.
Is it really?
Well, not really, although you had the best analogy I was trying to remember, and you said it's like when Penguin becomes mayor and then he lets all his crooks out of prison in Gotham. That was the best. I went with Ghostbusters, but you were correct.
That is exactly what's been happening here. And actually, I think early on when Trump got elected, we said this is the equivalent of Penguin winning the mayoral race.
Yeah.
And he's going to act like he acts. I think my hashtag I was putting out there was criminal clown president.
Yeah.
And that's precisely where we are. And what we have now is proof positive that he is a criminal. He is now pardoning criminals, although all presidents do that, but he's specifically targeting criminals who have done white-collar crime, lied to the government, specifically the things he did and his staff have done for him, so he could set what he thinks is a precedent.
Yeah.
Well, you know what? All that can be prosecuted in the next administration.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's what Neil Katyal, Glenn Kirshner, been on our show talking about, Malcolm, and I believe it. You said, you echoed what Ari Melber said. President Trump's new pardons are for well-connected insiders convicted of the same offenses Trump and several of his advisors are accused of: serious crimes of extortion, bribery, misleading authorities, or abuse of office. And it couldn't be clearer, Malcolm, that he's probably not going to let Roger Stone spend a second in prison, regardless of what happens today, right? Tomorrow in court.
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, these are his cronies, and he's going to get them all out of prison. I mean, Rod Blagojevich, I'm sure you talked about it earlier.
Yeah.
Rod Blagojevich was selling a Senate seat and was stealing money from charities. I mean, these are precisely the kind of people Donald Trump admires.
Yeah, because he's done the exact same things. Yeah, exactly.
Of course he has. And he thinks, wow, these guys are entrepreneurs and they're being really clever about how they stick it to the government. No, they're thieves, literally thieves. So he pardons war criminals, thieves, indicted people, and Mike Milken. I mean, come on. This is the guy who everybody practically worshipped in the 80s as the great financial wizard, who was just a thief in the end.
Yep.
And he literally wasn't he the guy that they agreed is good?
Yeah.
Came up with that mantra.
Basically, yeah.
Right.
Trump admires people who can steal. And again, when this is all said and done, when we get a nominee, we got to go whole hog at making sure, like Glenn Kirshner says, that there is a Trump crime commission where we scrub the government and we prosecute everybody who profited off that administration. And good God, imagine how much insider trading stuff there you have to find out.
You and I have screamed till we're blue in the face, vote blue no matter who, right? Like, don't do Russia's work for them. But that's one of the reasons why Elizabeth Warren happens to be resonating with me, Malcolm, is just because she's the only one talking about that, about absolutely holding them, this criminal administration, to account. No more our long national nightmare is over, moving on, unity. This is, I mean, it is hard to put into words what's just happened in the last week and a half, isn't it?
Yeah, well, I would be allowed to talk about it, but that's Elizabeth Warren, and that's after Bernie, Buttigieg, and Biden. Therefore, she doesn't exist, obviously, in the news media, which is rather frightening, considering some of the other options that are happening. But if Elizabeth Warren's saying it, God bless her, I hope they all should come out and say, I agree with Elizabeth Warren. I want to see more cooperation.
Yeah.
It's primary. And
you tweeted about the Bloomberg stuff. You said, why all of you think Joe Biden, Pete Buttigieg, and Senator Warren aren't good enough moderates are now choosing a center-right Republican on the basis of his unlimited advertising. It is a little terrifying given what we're up against. And you have cautioned people on Twitter. You're like, no one has voted for Bloomberg yet. Not one vote. Simmer the down and let blacks and Latinos have a chance, please. I mean, we are 2 primaries in. I keep saying, Malcolm, Bill Clinton didn't win a primary till the 6th one in 1992.
No, he lost all 6. It was 7.
Okay.
And then he came and lost a couple of more in between. This is going to be that kind of primary. and principally because the Democratic Party is splitting in two factions that are, and one of those factions is divided now into four. I mean, I had people saying, oh, you're a Biden guy. Biden's a complete disaster. It's a complete meltdown. No, it's not a disaster. No one's voted. Iowa and New Hampshire are not representative of the Democratic Party at all.
Right.
I was just in Charleston, South Carolina. Though I'm sorry to tell you, amongst black people at Jedburgh Baptist Church, that's Biden country.
Mm-hmm.
But now we're getting this Bloomberg effect where he is buying the opinions of people and coming out and essentially saying, I have money and therefore I can beat Trump. Well, I would like to actually hear what his platform is. Because if we get a mainstream Republican platform that is to the right of virtually everybody who ran against Trump, that is not a moderate. A moderate is Buttigieg, Biden, Warren, and some of the people who dropped out. And, they're divided into quarters right now, 15, 15, 15, and more. And they would, of course, they, of course, are equally as competent, if not better, than, the progressive left on the exact same things. So now we have the progressive left attacking the moderate, calling them the establishment, right? Which is insane because they're running for the Democratic Party.
Well,
platform.
And particularly Elizabeth Warren, who's, been fighting the establishment her whole life, and I would not say is necessarily moderate. I think she's the sweet spot between moderates and progressives, but her record is as progressive as Bernie, but she seems to scare the mainstream, media as much as Bernie does, in my opinion.
So now Bloomberg is in the game at 78 years old, right? That sounds familiar, 78 years old.
Yeah.
Just a couple of weeks ago, they were saying two candidates who were that age were not qualified due to their age. One of them had a heart attack because of their age. Now everybody doesn't have a problem with it when you have $1 billion.
And by the way, one of the things that bothers me the most about the Bloomberg ads is him implying that Barack Obama has endorsed him, by using a snippet of a speech where Obama's saying nice things about him, which, is not endorsing this campaign, right? But a lot of people think that because of the ads and the money, think that he has.
Well, there's some crazy stuff still going on with Tom Steyer. Tom Steyer's going out for the black vote in Nevada. He just started. He bought in Vogue and a couple of other bands, African American bands from the 1980s, to have at his concerts. People are now into the dog pony, bread and circuses phase of this primary, and it's ridiculous because the people who have real platforms, Elizabeth Warren has real platforms. Joe Biden has real platforms. Bernie Sanders has an entire movement that he has. We're not listening to that now. Now we're going, okay, who can put out the best commercials? And I'm sorry, some of those Bloomberg commercials are awesome. But you know what? They would be more awesome if he was backing the entirety of the Democratic Party for the House, the Senate, and the presidency to get someone in there. Because he's only in to be the anti-Bernie. And now I'm going to quote my friend.
He didn't get in until Warren was actually rising. I think that's what Wall Street is more terrified of, is because they thought Elizabeth Warren can win, and it was when Warren was the front runner that Bloomberg got in. I think it's the 2% wealth tax.
He was specifically against the Medicare for all.
Yeah.
And said that if it looked like Bernie was going to be the nominee, that he would get in.
Yeah.
And obviously he's done some analysis because, he is Bloomberg, financial news. And they have a ginormous analytical machine behind them. And they thought, well, if Bernie comes in, socialism is going to come take our money. That's not what is happening.
Yep.
What's happening now, though, is, and I'm going to quote Jason Johnson, who has been brilliant on this subject. He said this last week on a private forum that I was on. He said, we thought that Donald Trump would be the end of the Republican Party, that he would destroy the Republican Party. Right now, it looks like he's destroying the Democratic Party. And we're helping him from within destroy ourselves. First off, coming out with 24 candidates was ridiculous. And now splitting the vote into 4 means that you're going to get the candidate that Trump and Russia wants, okay? Whoever that is. I mean, they took down Joe to a certain extent using all this false stuff.
Yeah,
a lot of people
they took out Kamala Harris. I mean, as we talked about, she was the #1 target of Russian bots. That was a perfect way to stir up racial division again, right? Just like in 2016.
Well, all I can say is this. I'm writing an article, and I'll give you a little bit of a preview.
Ooh.
Here's where Bernie's Achilles heel is, all right? And for all you Bernie people, take it to heart because it's coming. They've already started releasing the videos of him praising communism. That's the least of what's going to happen. When Bernie Sanders went to the Soviet Union, he was on 24/7 surveillance by the KGB because the tourist agency that brought people to the Soviet Union was a KGB directorate called Intourist. And what they will do is they will come out and swear to God, the Russians will, a group of them will come out and say, I was the KGB officer with Bernie Sanders. And then they will essentially accuse him of being a Soviet Union spy. And you know what? The Russians will come out with the evidence. They will manufacture it, and then they will have a 49-state electoral college victory for Donald Trump. Don't believe this is not going to happen because it's going to happen to everyone that runs. They are going to hit them with something.
Yeah, and as Rachel said last night, do you really think Bill Barr and Donald Trump are not going to open an investigation into whoever our nominee is?
Everybody's getting investigated. Everything will be manufactured, and it will stick because we are too busy fighting ourselves rather than trying to win this nomination and beat Donald Trump. And I'm sorry, I know you don't like using the phrase Bernie bros, but for all you Bernie bros that keep coming into my timeline, just unfollow me, okay? I am not with Bernie Sanders. I am with who's going to win. And if he wins, I'm with Bernie Sanders. Get it? Until such time, coming out and acting like Trumpers does not help me. It just makes me your eternal enemy. So.
Also, I said screw John Bolton and read chapter 14. And what you should do is buy the plot to destroy democracy. That's what you should do.
Plot to betray.
Plot to betray America. All 3 of them.
Boycott Bolton's book.
Yeah.
Don't even think about it.
Yep. Buy Malcolm Nance's book instead and other great patriots. All right. Love you, honey. See you next week.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Mwah.
There we go.